Yes, I'm back, and just in time to tell you that Prohibition is alive and well, at least in Arizona. No, really, I'm not kidding. Well, kind of, but yes, I got this notice from my friends at Naked Wine when I checked out. So I don't know, maybe these programs are going to get a little less entertaining. Seriously though, we're back on the case with the wheel bearing. Hopefully I'll have the tool ready and we can finish that job off, get the wheel back on the bike, do the front sprocket, and in the meantime we will be rerouting the ECU and the regulator. Well, I set out with every good intention to start looking at rerouting the ECU and all that wiring, tidy up and everything else. And anyway, something much more exciting turned up. Well, at least it's pretty. It's a new coolant overflow tank on that horrible plastic thing. It's quite neat and tidy, quite small, bloody heavy though. So, gonna see where I'm gonna mount that. Easily distracted by bright shiny things. Oh, what's that? Well, there's a number of possible easy options. There's this boy here, probably a little high. There's this engine mount actually here, which will work quite nicely either way. Bit random though, just kind of sticking out there. Would rather have it in here somewhere, but then the radiator's there. Yes, or there's places at the back, but I don't really want to take it all the way around the back. That's a bit excessive, isn't it? Don't know. Yeah, anyway, there's that other side, and that only took me 20 minutes, so they're done. That's good. I'm leaning towards black or just leaving them metal, so I'll leave them metal for now. Yes, it's a feasibility study, and probably one of the messiest you've ever seen. So yeah, there's all that wiring and just pulling it all forward. So there's the main cable to the ECU, that's nicely sat down there at the bottom there. We got the main fuse, which I would probably put up here somewhere so that it was easily accessible. And what else we got? Something else. We got the upside down meter, Humpty Dumpty. Yes, up. And that, whatever that is, looks like an air pressure sensor regulator thingy. Better check that out. A couple of random relays. They can all kind of get thrown in there. And so all we've got to take backwards is the lighting for the back, the rear lights and brake light. So there we go. Because everything else is down here. That goes to the fuel tank. That's fine where it is. This funny thing disappears down there, so that's fine where it is. Negative battery terminal there. Oh, that reminds me. Yes, positive battery terminal. Obviously, very short wire off the main fuse. That would have to come back, trace back all the way along here, and meet up there. So as I couldn't find one of those on eBay, I'm not going to replace it with one of those. I'm going to replace it with the negative, like I said, and because it's longer, look, see, so that'll do perfectly. So I shall get another negative. That'll be very confusing, but I'll mark it with some red tape along the way so that anyone in the future, including myself, will remember what it is. So I'm quite happy about that, because the thought of trying to squeeze the ECU in the back somewhere was a bit of a nightmare, honestly. I couldn't really see, it was going to be messy, and I didn't want to extend the seat again. So that's all very encouraging. Guess I better find out what this is and where it originally went. There's one that looks remarkably similar already there. There's nowhere over here for it, so I think it's sat in the back. There was another random thing that looked a bit like that as well, which I thought might be the air pressure sensor, but I seem to have lost that. How careless. I'm sure it'll crop up. Don't panic, I found it. There it is. Yeah, I'm gonna have to Google this stuff, I suppose. Still stubbornly resisting the temptation to buy manual for the bike. Probably should. So I think it's about time to do this properly, this tray thing. And I have chosen to go the plastic route for two reasons. It might be easier to work with, and secondly, I bought some thick kind of craft plastic when I was doing the revised, remodeled airbox on the MV Agusta, and I didn't use it in the end. I used sheet metal. So I'm going to be using that because it's quite relatively thick. I don't know, it's about 3-4 mil thick, pretty sturdy, and plastic, lightweight. And here it is, marked up for the MV Agusta airbox, indeed, which I never cut. While we're on the subject of this area, this is definitely going to be mounted here, probably that way around. Looks like it's upside down. Actually, it'll be the other hole because I want the plug to be the other side. But yeah, that way up, because then it's going to get maximum cooling on those fins through these scoops. Yeah, and I may devise some other kind of mount on the other end of it. Really want it just balancing off the one, so yeah, some kind of strap across here that it bolts onto. Well, I think that's a very good location for the regulator. Keep it nice and cool. And that was a job for the trusty Black & Decker jigsaw. Could have got a little bit messy and hot with the Kawasaki. So yeah, there we go. Stage 1, cut. And there it is, lovely. And just been inspecting it from underneath because I just wanted to make sure it was not poking out the sides, and it's not actually. Probably could have allowed myself a little bit more, but I've got plenty of frame to work with in terms of the mounting hole, so that is actually good. I'm just going to tidy that up now. Might need to scoop a bit out there. As you can see, we don't want any interference with the bottom yoke, tree, whatever you want to call it. Just marking it up for the holes. So that's the hole there at the center at the front that goes into that existing bolt. And then this is the line where I want to drill the holes that are going to go into the rivet nuts in the frame, which I'm going to drill first here. So just, you know, what, 7 mil in, what's that, 3/16, I don't know, just inside anyway, so that hopefully it ends up in the middle of the frame at the same point, which is, you know, about somewhere in the middle of that. Yeah, perhaps I should measure that. Let's do that. Well, it's about 1.25 inches, which is roughly 30 mil. So there, that is probably the inner edge of the frame, and therefore I want it about there. So it's actually kind of 2/3 of the way there, maybe 3/5, because I don't want it in the middle of that, because it'll be, it's all about angles, trigonometry, or just plain hit and miss, which I prefer to call educated guesswork. Okay, so there we are, mounted off that front bolt, and yeah, that's going to need a little bit of mod. And I've drilled the holes. Jesus, drilled the holes in the frame. There, not in the frame. Get out the way. I've drilled the holes in the piece itself, and then I'll, yeah, I like that. So I'll mark those up on the frame. Got one other little, there's a thing to sort out. That boy there, it's kind of a notch, so I forget what was mounted off that center bolt. Oh yeah, that emissions bullshit. So that obviously required some kind of notch to keep it in place, so I'm gonna have to grind that off. It's going to be fun getting in there with an angle grinder, but at which point I think I'll call it a day, because my wife says I need a haircut. Apparently something's funny is going on at the back, and of course I do that myself, if you hadn't noticed. Ever since COVID, It's like, yeah, I can do this. Obviously not so good at the back. Can't see that, right? But just before I do, yes, I've been sitting here on the other side of the bike, and this is where, pretty much, I think, where the original Coolant Overflow was, and that would be perfect. It's another engine mount, so it's a big old bolt that goes through there, but somewhere in that region I like. Obviously I've lost the hose to it, the tube, whatever you want to call it. That's long gone. I don't know where that is. I think I pulled it over here somewhere. I don't know, it'll crop up. Meantime, I've been thinking about something like this for the fuel tank. Yes, it's Roman numerals for 6. I kind of like it. What would that look like if that was the actual colours? So that's all that wrapped up nicely with that friction tape, which I'm rather fond of. Or I might put some tie wraps on there like Yamaha did, just to hold it in various places, but everything's moving forward, and moving forward is good. And I'm also going to do a little bit of work here, cutting and splicing like I did on the MV, because this is obviously going to the Speedo, wherever that goes, but it'll be here somewhere, right? And all this stuff can go in my newly found void through the middle somewhere. So there are some wires, everything goes back to here, there, that join there, that doesn't look good, so that needs a little unraveling and tidying. And there's these 2 wires, and they look to be 4 wires, but they look to be the same situation, that come in tight here. So I'm going to chop all those, extend them so that this whole bit here can come away from the rest of that loom, and everything will come back to here at least. So yes, quite an interesting discovery actually, and maybe a change of plan, because having unraveled all that, it seems that these 2 wires come back off the Speedo, and they wrap, they're the only thing apart from those 2 that they wrap around this that goes all the way back to here, and they end up here on this thing, and I don't even know what that is and what it's for. I should probably find out, but I think I'm just going to chop those and separate that, and then I'm going to unravel all this, because if you remember, this bike had an aftermarket headlight on it. I'm thinking this doesn't look factory Yamaha. Looks a bit like a light fitting, domestic light fitting, not quite, but anyway. This is somebody's bodge job, because all the wires are the wrong thickness, and potentially some of them are the wrong colour. So I'm going to unravel this as well and see where that all goes. I'm bound to find something horrible under there, like that. What's that? Might be a dead cockroach or something. So that's a dead cockroach, and of course it's not. It's similar to the other dangler, wherever that's gone. I don't know. Anyway, which is good, because I'm assuming then that these are probably the indicators, which of course, as you know, we're not going to need. I've never seen anything like this, so I think that's the earth, because it goes back in here, splits, one goes into the, where's that go? That comes up here, there's another multi-connector, there's another multi-connector there, one goes into the relay, one goes into the speaker. It's just unbelievable amount of multi-connectors. Yes, it's out of focus, I'm blurred myself. I have a lot of rewiring to do. I will not be filming it because it's very tedious, but it's just a question, they're all interconnected, so there's a better way to interconnect them all. Just requires a logical brain and some tidying up. All right, it's been a long haul, but there is the maximum. That's dangling. That's an earth, I believe. There's the maximum stretch I got on the Speedo cable wiring. Speedo cable. Gosh, how old am I? Yeah, that was a factory join, and that's about as far as I can split it. So there's the two relays that are going to go backwards. Yes, there are the lights dangling, and yeah, we'll hook them up when we need to, find out what's what. And that's the main earth back into the loom, which obviously I have to connect everything else up to that I've marked with that lovely, what is that? Is an Ayrton Senna helmet tape. Yes. And obviously once I've worked out where everything's going, I'll be continuing to wrap this with the yes, that stuff, and then no doubt I will be using my skeletal plastic tubing and die wraps just to make it doubly safe and heat resistant. God, what a bloody mess. This takes hours, by the way, hours. And what do you mean you don't like my haircut? I know, it's a bit Tintin, isn't it? I'm allowed to experiment with my shears, whatever they are. Flippers. I don't know. So this will be the end result. Speedo wiring there. Main beam, low beam, and another wire earth. And everything else will tuck in here. Yeah, copious extra stuff off the loom, but that's fine. There's plenty of space there, so yeah, getting as before with the Agusta. If yeah, if I wanted to be super neat and tidy, chop it all to the right length, reconnect it all, but that in itself is a nightmare, causing potential other problems. And you know, at least in the future, it gives somebody the scope to put it back somewhere else. I don't know. It's just not worth it. Given the amount of electrical work that I'm doing and will be doing and will have done by the time this is finished, it'll be quite extraordinary if this bike actually ever starts again, given that it didn't start before I started messing around. But there are too many starts in that sentence. There's not enough starts in this garage. I need to get out and ride. But right now is the worst time of year. It's either stinking hot or pissing with rain. And neither of those is particularly good for riding motorcycles. Much as I'd like to carry on tidying up wiring, and there's lots of loose ends, as you can see. Yes. Until I start fitting things, I can't really go any further in terms of rerouting, etc. Because I need to start fitting things, making sure they work, and yeah, reconnecting stuff systematically. So that will probably be an episode all on its own. God, this is a mess. Did I say that already? What was I thinking? Mr. Sansom, you were right. Yes, another water-cooled modern motorcycle with ridiculously complicated wiring. However, there may be another special treat on its way. I might be going to see another bike this weekend, if the guy ever responds to me. I assume he's trying to sell it. He put it on Facebook and he answered my initial, is it still available, and then has not answered anything else subsequently. What is the matter with people these days in communication? Is it that difficult? I mean, you've got so many methods to do it. Do I sound like a grumpy old man? Well, I am, sometimes. And in case you're wondering why I'm not getting on with a wheel bearing, it's because my bearing puller has not arrived yet. I think it might be here today, but I haven't checked the mailbox because it's busy on rain again. And then once that's done and it's back on its feet, I shall be doing the sprocket. Yes, I promise. So that turned out to be all about electrics and fabrication and various other bits and pieces, as opposed to bearings and sockets. Hopefully those tools will be here in time for the next episode, because the one that arrived today was not correct, not appropriate for the job in hand. A lot of type of pullers apparently. So we'll call it a day, and we shall meet again to continue the battle with the R6. Thanks for watching as always. If you haven't already, please do subscribe, and do invite others to watch my lunacy.